Oh, good. Hello, those on streaming. I've actually started the streaming early because it didn't work last night and I didn't know quite what would happen tonight. You did actually miss out on a bit of excitement last night because Crystal Spray was approaching the final part of JP's trip at the same time as a subtropical low was descending upon the Opua Northland area. So it was a pretty interesting discussion that we had, and I actually woke up about 2 o'clock and checked where he was, and he was only about 25 miles away, sort of dead on course. But then by 7 o'clock, obviously, and I wish we had him on air tonight to talk to because he would have told us what was going on. But clearly the wind was northwest rather than the northeast, and he got blown quite a bit to the east. But anyway, everyone swung into action, and he made a tremendous effort. And the Coast Guard, because he didn't have any forward propulsion on his engine, such as that engine is on board Crystal Spray, he got a tow up to the customs dock and arrived at about noon. So all was well that ended well, and I will repeat a little bit of that when I go on air at 6:15. But it's good that we have started the streaming and all is working. It was the usual. Shut her all down and start it up again. It's just as well that aeroplanes, when they have that problem in the mid-air, don't have to shut down and start up again, isn't it? Because it seems to be the only way that a lot of electronics could work these days is shutting down and starting up again. Anyway, apart from the fact that David and I both have COVID, we'll get started and not too busy tonight. A very good evening, everybody. This is Gulf Harbour Radio, ZMH 286, Patricia and David. It is the 19th of November, and the season is very quickly coming to a close. It is the calm after the storm, actually, here at the moment. Hardly any wind at Gulf Harbour. Not sure what it's like up north. Should have checked, I suppose. 3 knots from the north here, 21 C. We are about to have a very cool week, though, because it hasn't turned to the south yet, but it will be shortly. 75% cloud cover and 1008 steady on the bar after a fairly torrid evening. Just to confirm with everyone that has been following Crystal Spray's trip to Opua with interest, he did get the subtropical low last night as he came close. And in fact, he must have found it quite hard to slow down because at about 2 in the morning, he was about only 25 miles away, but then got blown quite a bit off course and came back quite slowly. And I'd have to say I have the utmost admiration for everybody that has helped. Customs, both in Auckland and in Opua, the RCC, who were carefully following him for the last 24 hours, Maritime Radio, who were waiting for comms and helping out, and of course the Coast Guard up there in Northland, who did a good job of bringing him alongside the customs dock at noon today. So I'm sure he's a very thankful cruiser and will be very pleased to be in. Not much else happening out at sea at the moment, whilst everything calms down after this confounded subtropical low, which is sort of hanging around a bit. We only have one boat on air tonight, and that is Sperari, way up heading towards Kiribati. Tell you what, they are in a very isolated part of the world, about 200 miles south-southwest of Kiribati. We'll talk to Sergio shortly. Kiribati is itself about, I don't know how many miles south of Hawaii. So anyway, there's still a long way for Sergio and Joanne. After we've talked to Sergio, David is going to have a look at the passage opportunities, if you could call them that, this week from both Tonga and Fiji. He'll discuss that. Spoiler alert, it's not a great one, but anyway, he can talk to you about that shortly. Meanwhile, Sperari, Gulf Harbour.
Good evening. How copy this evening?
Pretty good, thanks, Sergio. I presume you've had to turn the engine off to be able to hear me. Go ahead, over.
Oh, well, actually, we are sailing, so we've got a very good reception on you for tonight, as always, and I'll keep going with our report and our location for position tonight under a starry night and still the twilight of the sunset is 00 degrees south, 56 minutes before getting to the equator, and 159 degrees and 02 minutes west. We're doing a course of 4 to 5, let's call it 50 degrees true, and a speed about 5 knots. We're on the sail. We've been motoring a bit today, but the northwest wind or northwest wind picked up a little bit, so full sail on, and hopefully will stay that way all night. So back to you, Patricia.
It doesn't look as if there is enough wind to have you going along at 5 knots. What is the wind strength? Over.
Sorry, I forgot to mention it. We got about 12 knots, 11 to 12 knots of northwesterly at the moment.
Well, that's a bit of a bonus, isn't it? Sperari tonight is, I thought you would be on the 00s by the time we talked. 00 degrees, 56 minutes south. And so I presume that at some stage you're going to jump overboard and swim on the equator.
I hope so.
That's what we did, didn't we?
Yeah.
159 degrees 02 west, and doing a wonderful 5 knots sailing on a course of 050 true towards Kiribati with a north-northwest 12. Well, it took some patience, but you got it at last. Stand by.
Yeah, good afternoon. My voice hangs in there. Serge, good going so far. I think tomorrow the winds are going to be a little bit more out of the north, maybe north-northeast, not the direction that you want, but not very much of it, maybe 8-10 knots, that kind of a thing. That's our Monday. And then looking at the next day, 24 hours later, it completely changed in the winds. They're going to be coming out of the east. And that's probably reasonable news for you. And I'm moving you up a little bit. Let's see what we've got. Hang on. Yeah, it's still looking like about 10 knots out of the east. I'm looking at the various models as to what they're saying. May get up to about 10 to 12 out of the east. And then taking a look at Wednesday, virtually the same thing, but a little bit more wind. Add a couple of knots to that. Might get up to about 14, 10 to 14 knots, maybe 15 knots as you get closer to Ronton. I like Ronton. I really do. It just sounds like a noodle soup. The ITCZ is pretty much non in existence at the moment, but on Wednesday it looks like it reforms, and it's going to be north of Kiribati, so that's not going to bother you at all. It's a bit of activity to the northeast of Ronton, quite a bit of thunderstorm activity, but due north, though, it's just your basic clouds, squally type conditions, hot, humid, that sort of thing. And that's Wednesday. And then looking at Friday, there's probably going to be a fair amount of precipitation. The ITCZ is very, very spread apart at that point in time. And I would guess that you are going to get wet somewhat, wash off the boat a little bit. Nothing big in this at all. All of the thunderstorm activity is well off to the northeast from what I could see looking at the different models. And what rain that I do see is minimal. It's drizzle more than anything else. And that's probably about the Friday time frame, and you'll probably be there by then, I would guess. You've only got a couple 100 miles to go. So, yeah, my guess is you'll certainly be there and not worrying about drizzle. Probably looking for ice for your drinks. I don't know. So, how copy so far? Over.
Very good copy, David, on everything. Thanks for the very good report also. And yes, that's great news because we got accustomed to sailing in flat seas and beautiful weather. So we're glad to hear that it's going to be this way until we get there. So the ETA is probably sometime Tuesday during the day. And we are looking forward to give you a full report on what's happening over there.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Oh, that's good. We'll be quite anxious to hear that. And I think I heard you say Tuesday. Well,
Yeah,
that's
but Tuesday, not our time, maybe.
their
It'll
time.
be 200 miles to go.
Oh, whatever day.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just looking at some of the various models. Little bits of cumulus, a squall here and there, light squall, light rain shower here and there, maybe on Tuesday, but nothing. Absolutely, really, not much to write home about. And the winds are going to continue roughly easterly on Tuesday, all day Tuesday, and Wednesday as well, just in case you don't make Tuesday. So yeah, I think you'll have a pretty good shot at getting in there with no problem. Over.
Well, okay, that's great. Yes, we think we're going to be there Tuesday, so another day and a half to be there because we still have about 200 miles to go. But we'll see tomorrow. We'll report back. So thanks very much, Steve, for the weather report, and I guess we'll pass it back to you, Patricia.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the picture, the blow up on the AIS. There's nobody there with an AIS signal, so it'd be pretty exciting to get there and be the only one. So yeah, it's not a place that we know anything about. When we went from Bora Bora through to the Marshalls, we never stopped anywhere there. So yeah, interesting. We are looking forward to your report. All right, we'll clear with Sergio and Joanne, and wish you sounds very pleasant evening. How nice to be sailing. Now, David is going to have a look at passage weather, but is there anybody else, Maritime Mobile, that wants to call in? Please call now. No? All right, here he is to talk about the weather coming south to New Zealand.
Well, I'll tell you what, folks, it's certainly going to have variety. We'll call it the variety show because you're going to have winds from all kinds of directions. I'm looking at midweek, and basically we have a depression that's heading over New Zealand, pretty light from what I could see there. We've got a trough that runs all the way up through Minerva up to Suva. That's midweek. But if you were to leave, say, Tuesday, I see trough conditions up in the Fiji area, very light trough, not much to speak of at all. And as far as the folks over at Nuku'alofa on Monday, that's got a trough sitting right over the top of them as well, with the winds coming out of the east on the other side of the trough, south-southeast. So if you decide to go and get through the troughs and all that sort of thing, you'll have east to northeast winds for just a little while. And then the new high starts to make itself known. That high is going to be in the middle of the Tasman, and the axis of it runs almost due north all the way up toward Noumea or Port Vila. So that means the winds are going to be south-southeast, and that's going to put you close on the wind all the way down to 30 south. You get down to 30 south, this is Tuesday, then it's definitely southerly winds. But looking at, say, a week from now, I mean, this passage is 8 days, roughly, let's face it. The average passage is about that time. Now, some of you faster boats do it a lot quicker and whatnot, but in very light air, you may not have that kind of speed. So by the end of the week, a week from tomorrow, let's put it that way, we're going to have a high that's going to be just to the northwest of New Zealand. And it's a pretty weak high, about a 1018, 1019, like that. And there will be a trough, again, another trough that runs well east of New Zealand, runs north just to the west of Nuku'alofa, but up to Fiji. And the winds, if you were to wait a week and leave, say, a Monday from this coming Monday, a week away, in other words, you'll have, again, easterly winds to begin with, and then you'll have southeasterly winds for quite a while. If this high is very slow moving, those will be nice, mellow southeast winds. But then, if you look off to the west, there's another low that's going to be coming off of Australia, and that's showing a frontal band that runs all the way up Bundaberg, all the way south to Tasmania. And of course, that's going to have northerly quadrant winds, which is good. And that little frontal band finally it might get to New Zealand say maybe 4 days after Monday the 27th. So it'll be sort of the end of the month. And that's a possibility too. So it's really up to you guys what you do. There is nothing out there in the next 7 days other than these troughs that I'm talking about. The winds are all fairly light to medium winds, and some of them are in very good directions for you. Some are not. It's just a matter of just wanting to get to New Zealand and just getting what comes and dealing with it. And that's about all I could say until you get going and we see how things change. All the models are pretty much in agreement on this. So again, no horror stories, nothing like this last week, that's for sure, which you do not want. That's it. Unless you have some questions, you could email us if you want. But otherwise, if you're just anxious to get going, then just go for it and deal with what you get. So here's the chief.
Oh boy, I think if it was me up there, I'd be getting impatient, as you will know, David. I'll be saying, oh, come on, let's just do it. But it does sound as if it's going to require food, fuel, and water to deal with some of the slow bits and the motor bits, and and at least you'll get out of Dodge, sort of thing. So there's nothing coming through on streaming, no questions. If anybody has questions, you've got ghradio@extra.co.nz. If that's not clear, you can look up the website. Is there anybody wanting to call us for any further clarification or let us know what you are going to be doing? Call now. Well, nothing heard. And if there's nobody going to be on passage, well, we've got Sperari, haven't we? So we'll talk to you each night, Sergio, and at least that will keep us awake. All right, folks, that's it from us. We will love and leave you and be back again tomorrow evening. Cheers, everybody. This is Golf Harbour Radio Clear.
Back to coffee.
Back to coffee, yes.